Hello students, I am Dr. Amit Bhatnagar, working as Senior Research Officer in the Department of Agronomy at GB Pant, University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar, Uttarakhand. In this lecture, I will tell you what are the compounds which are not allowed in organic farming and what is the reason behind it. कौन से ऐसे compounds हैं, कौन सी ऐसी चीज़ें जिनको हम organic farming में use नहीं करते हैं और क्या उसके कारण हैं. So there are some compounds we can say or some chemicals which are not allowed and some are allowed with some restrictions. So what are those compounds? Actually, first of all, we should understand what is the concept of organic farming, why we do practice organic farming, what is the need of organic farming. The concept of organic farming is soil is a living system. There are natural cycle, biological cycle, natural interactions. So we have to use this living soil system. We have to use the organic concepts. So there are four concepts of organic farming: organic concept, holistic concept, living soil concept and healthy plant concept. In organic concept, the concept is that it is not with the organic compounds, it is the concept is that the whole farm is a living organism and every component interact with each other. So that's why we use all the resources which are available on the farm and the outsourced inputs are not used, or if used then minimum use. So this is the organic concept, that recycle and reuse of the resources with the minimum dependence on external input. The holistic concept is related with the ecology, ecological balance. All things are interrelated, whether it is a plant, human, animal, planet, all are interrelated. So there is a holistic approach. If one is disturbed, if one species is disturbed, definitely in nature other species are also affected. So it is the holistic concept, holistic approach. We have to maintain all the resources, all the species, biodiversity maintenance. So there is no interference with any other species. Then in living soil concept, the soil is a living system, and because of this living system there are natural cycle, and the humus is the responsible for this living soil dynamic property. So if we maintain the humus, then we can increase the soil productivity and can increase the production. And in case of healthy plant concept, the concept is that if plant is healthy, if it is resistant to disease, insect, then no need to apply any pesticide, no need to apply any fungicide. If plant is healthy, then no chemicals are used to control any type of disease, insect. And plant is healthy, then it can make the efficient use of resources. So if these concepts are maintained, then organic farming is practiced. If concept अगर ये पूरा नहीं हो रहा है concept, तो फिर ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग नहीं हो रही है. तो ये concept जहाँ हमको यूज़ करने हैं उसके लिए ही हम केमिकल और इन सब चीज़ों को यूज़ नहीं करते, क्योंकि ये हमारा concept है. In case of organic concept, it is not that the only organic compounds are allowed. Here the organic means is a living system. The total system is living. तो जो सिस्टम लिविंग है तो कोई भी ऐसी चीज़ यूज़ नहीं करनी कि उस लिविंग सिस्टम को हैम्पर करे. तो इसका मतलब यह है कि अगर कोई भी हम ऐसी चीज़ यूज़ कर रहे हैं जो इन कंसेप्ट के अगेंस्ट है, देन इट इज़ नॉट अलाउड. तो वी हैव टू यूज़ ओनली दूज कंपाउंड्स, दूज वी कैन से द सब्सटेंसेज विच follow these concepts. So the first if we look this synthetic compounds, so synthetic compounds are not natural. So these are the man-made. So that's why the soil is a living system. This is an organic concept. Farm is a living. So this is against the concept. So it means if a system is maintained, for system sustainability, it is important that all the resources within the system should be used. So synthetic compounds are man-made, so they disturb the ecology. So that's why these are not allowed. So any type of fertilizers are not allowed. Pesticides are not allowed. Fungicides are not allowed. Any type of fungicides, herbicides, insecticides, any type of synthetic material is not allowed. And particularly in case of fertilizers, nitrogenous fertilizers are totally prohibited. Any type of nitrogen fertilizer is not allowed, not used. Urea is not used. Urea is organic. Formula is NH2CONH2. If we see that this is the organic compound. Urea is organic compound, but it is not used in organic farming because it is synthetic. It is produced in the factory. this urea fertilizer. That's why. But some micronutrients are used with the restrictions. So some restrictions are there. Restricted use is there, means with the some restriction with the condition and the application methods. We can use some micronutrient fertilizers, because micronutrient application is problematic in case of organic farming. So soluble boron compounds are used, and the sulfates, carbonates, oxides and chelates, we can say silicates of FeCu, Mn, Zn are used, but with the restrictions. So it means synthetic compounds are not allowed and all nitrogen fertilizer are not allowed. किसी भी नाइट्रोजन फर्टिलाइजर यूज़ नहीं करना, और यूरिया को तो नहीं बिल्कुल यूज़ करना है, लेकिन माइक्रोन्यूट्रिएंट्स के लिए सम रेस्ट्रिक्शंस हैं. सल्फेट, कार्बोनेट, फॉर एग्जाम्पल जिंक सल्फेट में भी यूज, मैग्नीज सल्फेट कैन बी यूज, copper sulfate can be used. So these can be used with the some restrictions. So sulfate, carbonates, oxide and silicates of these micronutrients. Similarly, molybdenum can be used. For selenium used, cobalt can be used. Similarly, pesticides are not allowed, whether it is a herbicide or fungicide, but some restrictions are there. In case of fungicides, copper salts, these are the restrictions. Copper salts like copper sulfate, copper oxychloride can be used. Similarly, elemental sulfur can be used as a fungicide. So these are the some restricted use and can be asked in examination. So these are the some restricted use with the condition and the application method with the follow of some standards. So this is the first, that's not any synthetic compound is used, but some compounds with the restrictions can be used if there is a need and there is no source, but the restriction is that there is no contamination, no nutrient imbalance and no degradation of natural resources. So these points are very important, that these can be used, if there is some restrictions, that there is no contamination, restricted use. It is for restricted use. Contamination, for example, in case of Khera disease of rice, zinc sulfate can be used for remedial, as a remedial measure, but with the some restriction, that there is no contamination, there is no nutrient imbalance, and there is no degradation of natural resources. No degradation of natural resources. If these conditions fulfilled, then some micronutrients can be used. Some copper sulfate or copper oxychloride, elemental sulfur can be used with the restriction. So some restricted use are there. Then, so now it is clear that why synthetic compounds are not allowed. The reason is that the organic concept is a natural concept, that soil is a living, the natural cycles, natural biological system. That's why synthetic compounds are not allowed. Now another is a human excrement. It is not allowed. So human sewage is not allowed in organic farming, because of contamination. It carries the contamination. So that's why, because of contamination, this human excrement is not used as a fertilizer. Night soil is not used. So that's why night soil, which is used as a fertilizer to fertilize the nutrient made from the human excreta, is known as night soil. So it is not used because of contamination. Then hormone and PG, plant growth regulators, are not used because these are synthetic. That's why these are not used. But ethylene with the restricted use is that ethylene can be used. Ethylene can be used for ripening and degreening. Ripening and degreening, पकाने के लिए और उसका हरा रंग को ख़त्म करने के लिए in banana and citrus and other fruit, banana and citrus and other fruits. So ethylene with the restricted use. Similarly, this feed additives, antibiotics and vaccines are not allowed because these are synthetic. So synthetics are not allowed because organic concept is a living concept, living system, living ecosystem, living soil system. When synthetics are allowed, then this living system is hampered. So natural cycles are break, natural cycle टूटती हैं, biological cycle टूटती हैं, synthetic compound के आने से natural system break होता है. That's why synthetics are not allowed in organic farming. And these synthetics cause the contamination, also cause the nutrient imbalance, also cause the degradation of natural resources. That's why synthetics are not allowed in organic farming. And vaccine poultry, in case of poultry vaccination, very important. For example, in Ranikhet disease, so it is not allowed. Similarly, feed additives not allowed. Antibiotics against the diseases not allowed. So animals are not subjected to for administration of these drugs. तो जो दवाइयाँ दी जा रही हैं एनिमल को वो भी अलाउड नहीं होती हैं ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग में. Then GM crop, genetically modified crop or genetically engineered crops are not allowed. For example, BT cotton is not allowed. The reason is that there is a risk. There is a risk of the genotype or the another consequences which are not clear. So genetically modified crops like GM soybean, GM maize, GM canola, GM mustard, these crops are not allowed. And BT common is very popular in our country and the world, but this BT cotton is not allowed because there may be risk of pollen for the development of any breed, and this risk is not clear. So there may be risk in future. So that's why, and the risk is avoided in organic farming. So there are 4 principles of organic farming: principle of health, principle of ecology, principle of fair, and principle of care. So care for future generations. So if there is any risk, then any material, any compound, any technology which has risk for the future generation is not allowed. So that's why BT cotton is not allowed. But BT preparations, BT insecticide preparation, BT toxin as an insecticide is used because this BT toxin is natural. It is natural. So there is no genetic recombination here. There is a genetic recombination in this BT cotton, in BT crop, and BT toxin is natural from the Bacillus thuringiensis. Bacillus thuringiensis is natural bacteria, and toxin is obtained from this Bacillus thuringiensis bacteria and used. So this is natural product. So natural products are used in organic farming. But in case of BT cotton, there is a genetic DNA recombination. So that's why there is a risk that there may be another species evolved which may cause the risk for the generation. Then nanoparticles, similarly, nanoparticles pose the risk, maybe risk, and there may be organic nanoparticle. These are also not used. If there is a nano urea is not allowed in organic farming because urea is synthetic. Similarly, nano organic compounds, there are some synthetic materials are there in the manufacturing. Similar and other problem is the risk in the future. The nanoparticles are very small and may cause any severe problem in animal or in plants or any biota. So that's why nanoparticles are not allowed due to risk. So nano urea is not allowed. Then peat for soil conditioning. Actually, peat is allowed. Peat is natural, but for soil conditioning it is not allowed. It is important that for soil conditioning, because it interferes with the natural resources. So it affects the natural resources, soil. So it may affect the soil properties. So if soil properties are affected, then plant is affected, then whole ecology is affected. So peat for soil conditioning is not allowed. Peat as such is allowed. Clay is allowed. Bentonite, vermiculite, zeolite is allowed, permitted. But peat is also allowed. But peat for soil conditioning, peat this for microbial preparation. This peat is used as a microbial preparation is allowed. Microbial preparation allowed, permitted. Actually, this biofertilizers carrier is this peat, azotobacter, acetobacter, rhizobium. The biofertilizer carrier, solid carrier is peat. For microbial preparation, this peat as a carrier is allowed. But for soil conditioning, we want to improve the soil properties by mixing the peat, then it is not allowed because it will change the whole soil property. And our objective is no degradation of, no change in natural resources, adverse effect. So contamination, nutrient imbalance and degradation of natural resources is avoided. So that's why this peat is not allowed. So these are the some compounds which are not allowed, but some there are some compounds which can be used with the some restriction. For example, micronutrient can be used. For example, in case of potassium fertilizer, kyanite can be used. Restricted use. You see the fertilizers, but nitrogenous fertilizers are not allowed. So restricted use, with the restriction, we see the minerals. So restricted minerals, restricted use, minerals which can be used like kyanite, potassium source, sylvinite, potassium source, it can be used for potassium source. Then rock phosphate, it can be used as a phosphorus source. Then basic slag, it can be used. Basic slag can be used. It is used in organic farming. So these are the minerals which can be used. Similarly, sulfur can be used with the some restrictions. So these are the compounds, and for the micronutrients, sulfate, chloride, sulfate, carbonates, oxides and silicates are allowed of the micronutrients. So natural deposits are there, then these can be used with the restriction that there is a no nutrient imbalance. So is that no nutrient imbalance? No nutrient imbalance, then these can be used with the precaution that there is no nutrient imbalance. तो अगर न्यूट्रेंट इम्बैलेंस नहीं हो रहा है तो हम उसको रेस्ट्रिक्शंस के साथ यूज कर सकते हैं, लेकिन नाइट्रोजन का कोई भी फर्टिलाइजर यूज नहीं किया जाता है. तो ये आपको ध्यान रखना है कि ये क्यों हम नहीं कर रहे हैं, क्या कारण है, व्हाट इज द रीजन वी आर नॉट यूजिंग these compounds. So these are the common compounds which are not used in organic farming with the reasons. Thank you very much.